Hello friends, hello professionals, Simone here, and I'm back with a bit of a part 2 to my last video. Why should junior staff be prepared for on-site inspections? Now, when we think about on-site inspections, we think senior management and the regulators, and me as a lowly clerical officer or an administrator will not be involved. I can tell you nothing further from the truth. But before that, let me just get the disclaimers out of the way. The views on this channel are definitely my own and not the view of any regulatory authority or international standard setter. It is not professional advice, and I'm not a lawyer, so it's not legal advice. So with that out of the way, let's dive in. So junior staff, you see the firm is about to be inspected and you think, nothing to do with me. I'm just going to show up to work and do my work and ignore all the stress that might be happening over there. Well, here's why you might need to be prepared. In some inspections, regulators will interview staff, including junior staff. And how do you think it reflects on the firm if you are not aware of the staff policies and procedures? I can tell you not well. I can tell you that it tends to create a bit of pain for the board and senior management when they realize that, they've trained all the senior staff and middle management. The board of directors are very sharp and keen to engage, but you're dealing with frontline customers. You could be a potential gap to persons seeking to commit financial crimes. You could expose the firm to certain risks. There's still money launderers and terrorist financiers out there. So you have to be on your A game. When they give you that compliance manual and those procedures, it's not necessarily a paperweight to hold down some other things. You actually have to read it because we test to see whether you've read it. In fact, we test to see if you've received it. Let's start with that. And in some cases, firms are not really good about training their staff, and they would train everyone in the firm that's at management level and not train the junior staff. You need to train even to the receptionist. In some firms, the receptionist has to be the sharpest person in the entire firm because she or he is client facing. So, we look for those areas where someone who has a bad intent, so nefarious purposes, they would look to see the chinks in your armor. Now, I can share this story because it did not come from within a regulatory authority. In one case, I was told by a managing director of a firm in a foreign country that there was some malfeasance, so that's the word that's used, in their organization. And it's an organization that has a cash flow from clients, or at least they did at the time. I think the model has changed. And they found that one of their staff was actually, their fingers were a little too sticky. So they addressed the issue, but the staff was terminated immediately, subject to investigations and what have you. And they made sure that all the staff were aware. But that particular managing director, he made sure to wait that evening to tell the janitorial staff as well, because the janitorial staff are trained in that particular organization, in that particular country. And sure enough, that night, just before the janitorial staff were locking up, that particular employee came back to try and access the building. Now, had they not been told, what do you think would have happened? Records could have been destroyed, which is not one of the good things you want your regulator to ever find out, that records have been destroyed. Or they could have, made off with the last set of information or monies that they thought they might be able to access. So, suppose they had something hidden in a different cabinet or a different room or something, and they just needed access back into the building. But the janitorial staff had been told. And so they were able to prevent any more risks from happening. And, the person was prosecuted and all these different things. But when I heard that story, I smiled because I knew that that firm and their regulator probably had a very good relationship, because all layers of the organization were exposed to training and exposed to, what the risks are if certain things happen, and that they were mindful enough to say, okay, this could be a potential weak point for someone with nefarious intent. So this is something I'm going to make sure that every single person who needs to know knows it. If you know of any junior staff that were in the crosshairs of an on-site inspection, drop it in the comment below. Or was it you that was that junior staff that didn't read the manual? If you were, just type yes or no in the comments. Hit the notification bell for my next video because it's definitely coming out soon. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and hit like if you enjoyed this content. And I'll definitely see you in another video.